Down to Earth, Haftarat Vayishlach. This week's Haftarah, the book of Obadiah with all its 21 verses, in my opinion should be divided into 4 parts. A. Edom doesn't know its place. B. Hashem puts Edom in its place. C. The reason Hashem puts Edom in its place. And D. The result of Hashem putting Edom in its place. In other words, Edom is prideful despite having no reason to be so. Hashem shows them that they're not as great as they think. The Edomites' pride led them to rejoice in Israel and Yehuda's misfortune, and even join in harming them instead of helping their brethren in the time of need. And in response, Bnei Israel will inherit Edom and lead judgment against them. The connection between the parasha and the Haftarah seems self-evident. Most of the parasha deals with Esav. At its beginning is the encounter between him and Yaakov. At its end is a long and extensive description of his descendants. And according to the Midrash, even the seemingly unrelated incident of Dinah comes as punishment for Yaakov not showing her to Esav, thereby preventing him from having an opportunity of repenting. A parasha dealing with Esav naturally leads to a Haftarah dealing with Esav. This was clearly not going to satisfy me. Just as the similarities between the parasha and the Haftarah are prominent, so are the differences. Although in the Haftarah Edom is punished for harming their brethren, Yaakov's descendants, in the parasha Esav makes no action against Yaakov, at least none that lead to his physical harm. One cannot blame Esav for Yaakov being injured in the struggle with the man by Yabok, nor for Dinah being hard by Shechem, at least not on the simple pshat level. Neither do Yaakov's gifts in the 43 verses describing Esav's illustrious family overlap with the judgment that Israel will be conducting and Edom's punishment from the Haftarah. Various midrashim attempt to help solve our problem by aligning the parasha with the Haftarah. For example, although no aggressive action by Esav against Yaakov is described, Rabbi Anai's approach in Midrash Bereshit Rabbah is that the dots above the word Vayishlach, and he kissed him, indicate that Esav tried to bite Yaakov, to harm him, but Yaakov's neck turned to marble and Esav's teeth were blunted, and thus he was harmed. According to Rabbi Chama ben Rabbi Chanina, the man Yaakov wrestled with was Esav's angel, thus achieving the same effect. The list of descendants is characterized by similar midrashim. Bereshit Rabbati characterizes them with licentiousness and hell. Radak points out the governmental instability. In the entire list of kings who reigned before a king reigned over Israel, no king was the son of a king. He also notes that once a king reigns over Israel, Esav's kingdom collapses. Shaul brings down Agag, king of Amalek, from Esav's seed, and David completes what Shaul started. Again, the Torah commentators reflect the message from the Haftarah in their interpretation of the weekly parasha. The midrashim that turn the last pasuk in the Haftarah into the main point of the parasha go even further. Ve'alu Mosheim be'ar Tzion lishpot et Esav, and saviors shall come up from Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esav. According to Midrash Rabbah, this is alluded to in the words, until I come unto my Lord unto Seir, ad asher avo el Adoni Seira, in Yaakov's words to Esav when they part at the end of their encounter, and in the list of kings of Edom at the end of the parasha. According to these later midrashim, it's not just that the Haftarah helps understand the parasha, they become a single unit, where understanding one without the other is impossible. I find this approach interesting, but opposite to my intuition. If you ask me, the Haftarah should reflect the parasha, not interpret it. As it happens, the authors of the Midrash didn't ask me. I might not have been available or something, so I can't argue with them. What I can do is suggest a different way of looking at it, but before I do that, I'll start with a question. What causes Esav's pride in the Haftarah? One doesn't have to look far to find in verse 3 that the cause is Esav's wickedness of heart. But what causes the wickedness of heart? That too can be spotted in verse 3. Esav takes pride in how the clefts of rock where he dwells prevent anyone from touching him. He's on the top of the world looking down on creation, and let's see anyone come against him. Who will bring me down to earth? Hashem answers Esav's rhetorical question. Who will bring you down to earth? I'll do it. But from the parasha's perspective, the question might be more important than the answer. Is your pride stemming from sitting in an ivory tower in the land of Seir, justified? I'm not asking if it's justified concerning Hashem, for whom there ain't no mountain high enough to prevent him from looking down on it. I mean concerning mere mortals like me and you. Have you done anything to justify your pride? The Lord of the universe's unequivocal answer is no. You are, after all, despised among nations, and only chance has led you to this mistaken perception of greatness. In the parasha too, Esav wears an aura of fictitious greatness that doesn't depend on him, and again, divine intervention is required to try to bring him back down to his original size. The difference is that this time, Yaakov is the one inflating Esav to disproportionate dimensions. Yaakov is afraid and distressed. He fears that Esav will come and strike him, mothers and children alike. Therefore, after magnifying Esav way beyond his natural dimensions, Yaakov needs to let the air out of the Esav balloon. However, since this fear exists only in Yaakov's mind, the confrontation must commence mainly within Yaakov. The Midrash reveals that the 400 men who came with Esav slipped away and left him, returning him to his natural small self. But it also tells us that Yaakov's struggle with the man at the ford of Yabok is none other than Esav's guardian angel, or as I see it, the psychological confrontation with the hairy monster from Seir that Yaakov created in his head. When Yaakov, who grasps Esav's heel, manages to break free from this perception and to strive with Hashem, strive ki sarita im Elokim, Hashem will bring his brother down from the clouds. Yisrael could now ascend with its saviors to judge the Mount of Esav. In loving memory of my beloved and heroic student, Amichai Shimon ben Yishayim bat Yarubin Hashem Yikom Damo, I am Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh.